Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday NBA Hardwood Show. I am Meg, and I am, of course, joined by my guys, Glock and Kurt, and we have a massive 9-game NBA slate to get through, and we're super excited. We can tell we've got chat super excited already. So as people are already saying, hit that like button. And we're very close to, I believe, 15,000 subscribers. So please hit that subscribe button as well. We would really, really appreciate both. It helps us out a ton. And the third thing I'm going to ask or remind you all about before we get into this huge slate is if you're looking to join Run Pure, now's a great time. I mean, yes, we only have 3 NFL games left, but they are 3 very exciting NFL games with a lot of action. Of course, NBA and the golf guys are crushing it. If you need a code, I've got Meg 15, I've got Glock 15, I've got Kurt 15. Pick whichever one you want. You get 15% off your first month at Run Pure, any type of membership you want. So with that, I want to get over to my guys before we, kind of really go game by game. So Kurt, I'll go to you first. I know you're sweating some college basketball right now. How's your day going? And what are you thinking about this massive slate?
Well, first thoughts is like we get so much value right out the gate, which is just for a Saturday. I love it. And then you also have you can kind of strategize to where you can maybe look out and get some late value with some Drew Eubank, stuff like that. It's a pretty tasty slate, I gotta say. I can't lie. I know it's gigantic, but there's a couple cross-offs completely. We'll get to that. A lot of value. You can get different, it's just a little different. I got a little different play to later on. That's very not optimal play, but kind of sneaky one, being a homer pick. But glad to see what Mr. Playbook has for us.
That's right. Let's go to Glock. He does the NBA playbook. He crushes it. He does an amazing job. I use it as my guide every time I play. So Glock, how are you doing? And what do you think about this slate tonight?
Yeah, doing good. Like Kurt said, this is an amazing 9-game slate. Generally when they have those big milli makers or, the 250K up tops, the slates are big and, they're really not that good. If I'm being honest, I don't feel like there's been a slate like this where it's been above 8 games and there's just so many spots you can attack from. Last night, usually the night before I do the playbook, I kind of generally write down some of my thoughts, before all the injury news comes out. And man, you're going to have to make some tough fades. You're probably going to like every lineup that you build tonight. And there's probably going to be some exposure that you can't get to. Last night was one example, right? You had Cleveland, you had Memphis, you had the Giannis with the Pacers, and you couldn't really fit all 3 of those situations into your lineup. So I think tonight it's going to be similar where you're going to have to take your stands and then you're going to have to make tough fades somewhere and not, get into some Rockets or get into some Mavs. So basic examples, but yeah, I mean, this slate should be super fun. And yeah, excited to break it down with all you guys.
Awesome. Well, I could tell we got a lot of good mojo in the chat. A lot of likes already. Keep the likes coming. We appreciate it because you keep the likes coming. You get these guys' plays of the day at the end of the show. And I know I want to hear it. So let's start because we got a busy one here. First game, we have the Houston Rockets at the Detroit Pistons. Pistons are favored by 4. Glock, I'll go to you. What are you targeting in this game?
Yeah, so this one is super interesting to start off our slate. I have it marked as a lead on the playbook. 4 spread, 235.5 total, one of the highest of the nights. And the key thing here to note is that the Rockets will be without Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. In Kevin Porter Jr.'s absence, Alperen Sengun, he was already smashing. And now he's going to get even more usage. He's literally going to have to do everything for the Rockets. And then obviously you're going to have guys, Eric Gordon's going to be there, 4.5K, super cheap, he could probably be flirting with a triple-double here. I mean, if Sengun doesn't, call me crazy, but Eric Gordon could do a little bit of everything and flirt with a triple-double because he's really that second guy, I feel like, for Houston. And he's been playing well, in the absence of Kevin Porter Jr. So, obviously, I think you can attack this Houston side from many, many ways. We're definitely going to need the starting lineup. I don't know if they're going to start Josh Christopher again. Ty Washington played well when he came in last game. Jayshawn Tate as well. Deshaun Nix is available. So we really need to keep an eye out on who starts for Houston. But this is a great spot. And you're definitely going to want to have some Houston exposure. And then, on the opposite side for Detroit, Alec Burks started last game and crushed. I would expect more of the same here, but it's kind of something we have to keep an eye on. Just confirm that he's, starting again. And I would just plug and play him most likely. And then one guy, like I feel like that is not projecting that high, Jalen Duren, 5.4K at the center spot. I know center's loaded today, which we'll get into, but man, like 2.6% ownership that I'm seeing right now against a Houston team where we generally like to target big men. I'm kind of confused on why his projection's so low. He's definitely a guy that I'm going to want to get over on. And then, yeah, my third favorite guy from Detroit is definitely Jaden Ivey. But this is mainly if Burks continues to start. I like Jaden Ivey because he's going to have a lot of that ball playmaking opportunity now. If Killian Hayes goes back to the bench, Alec Burks is more like a catch and shoot guy. He can create a little bit off the dribble, but he definitely doesn't need the ball as much as Killian Hayes. So I think Jaden Ivey is interesting in tournaments. Jalen Duren, obviously. Alec Burks, he's going to be chalky, but if he starts, I like him. And then, yeah, on the Houston side, I think you can really make a case for anyone. Obviously, Alperen Sengun will be at the top of the list. But I think probably Eric Gordon will be my second favorite, and then followed by, whatever cheap guard that they decide to start. Hopefully it's not Josh Christopher, because that guy, he got like a spot start and then they didn't roll down with him. So we'll see who they start, but we'll have it before lock, which is nice.
The disrespect.
I mean, I like Josh Christopher, Kurt. Like, he was good to me last year at the end of the year. But last game, he was a little hurtful for sure. And it wasn't because he didn't play. It wasn't because he sucked. It's like he just didn't get the run. Ty Washington came in and did work.
Yeah.
So we definitely need a starting lineup for sure.
Right. And that's what these Saturday shows, we're going to break it all down for you, but that's the benefit of having a Run Pure subscription. So you jump into the Discord for the late news, you get on, you check out the heat map, the core plays, then you'll get everybody's updated kind of core plays and thoughts based on the starting lineup. So with that, Kurt, what do you think about this game?
Well, I mean, I can't get too much different. I will say, like, this is a match spot for a lot of people. Like, Sengun can go for 50. I love that Duren's not projecting highly. Another guy who could just go nuke. This is going to be a game that they look back and they're like, why the hell were the views so high on this? Like, what the hell? And then it's us. We're the ones that are just absolutely get the lotion and towel out. As my boy Steve says, this is the lotion and towel game. So I'm going to go a little flop lag with Josh Christopher. If he starts again, I think that people are okay, we started last time, didn't get that much run. Ty's terrible, man. Like, I'm not saying Josh Christopher is going to like a world like burner, but like Ty sucks. And if we just randomly get 30 out of him, like, people are going to be pissed, not want to play him. I'll go right back to Christopher. Jason Tate's another one guy, like you said, Eric Gordon. Like, Jason Tate's another guy who could just absolutely stuff the stat sheet. He flirted with the triple-double back last year when they were in this like similar spot-ish. So don't mind some Jason Tate, but we got to see the starters and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm going to jam it in. I'm going to have at least 4 from this game. I can't lie. At least 3, but probably 4.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's, I think, jump over to the next game. We've got the Chicago Bulls at the Orlando Magic. The Bulls are favored by 2.5. So, Glock, I'll go back to you. Who are you targeting in this game?
Yeah, I think this one is probably one of the more easy cross-offs of the night. Going down the list, it's probably one of my least favorite games for sure. Obviously, you have the 3-headed snake for Chicago: Vucevic, DeRozan, LaVine. They're not projecting horribly. Obviously, wouldn't want to play all 3 together. I would probably just max 1. But maybe if like you landed on a Vucevic, you get a hashtag revenge spot here against his old team in Orlando. I don't mind that. But I'm really not going to force anything here. This spot would be more so for like one-off tournament plays. And, obviously if I was building out my lineup and then Nikola Vucevic fits last in, then I'm okay with it. But I'm not too thrilled with this spot overall. It's looking like, Paolo and DeMar are coming with the highest ownerships of this game. And those guys are just guys that I truly never play. So this one's probably a fade for me.
Okay. How about you, Kurt? Is this game a fade for you as well, or who are you targeting?
Man, I'm not playing on this trash ass game. Screw this shit. This shit sucks, bruh. X.
Okay. Well, hey, it's a 9-game slate. If we can X some games out, that makes it easier on everybody playing, makes it, this easier. And yeah,
bet the under.
And there you go. Hey, you can throw out bets that you like. In fact, I'll probably ask you guys, since I don't believe there's an NBA betting show today, we can, get into some favorite bets at the end of the show too. But let's go over to our next game. We've got the LA Clippers at the Atlanta Hawks. The Clippers is about even. So Glock, who are you liking in this game?
Yeah, like last game, this game kind of is pretty similar for me where, if I had any interest, it'd probably be in the studs. I will say I do have more interest in the studs here, like a Paul George. Obviously, he's only 8.7K. Atlanta is generally a team that does bleed fantasy points to their, opponents. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see, one of Paul George or Kawhi Leonard go off here. A guy that, is projected for under sub 5% owned, Ivica Zubac. I mean, his minutes have been really, volatile as of late, but you'd think he need to be out there against a guy like Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu. I think he's somewhat interesting to kind of sprinkle into your lineups, but I probably won't get there on a single entry or like a 3-max build. Like I said, in the Houston-Detroit game, I think Jalen Duren would be my priority in that price range. And then on the Atlanta side, it's kind of the same thing, right? You got another two-headed stud duo with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. Obviously, you can sprinkle those guys in, last in Trae Young versus the Clippers. I mean, can't really complain there, but this is probably just another spot that, my second least favorite spot. I know it's back-to-back, but I don't really truly love this spot. Apart from probably Paul George. Paul George would be my favorite play from this game. Other than that, pass for me.
All right. Kurt, someone wanted me to cuss in the chat. Is this a trash ass game for you as well?
Meg cuss. That's funny.
I'm just trying to keep the people happy.
That's
hit the DM like, and is this a trash ass game? There we go.
Hit the like, people, or she's gonna go on a freaking cussing spree. So yeah, not much here. I always like taking shots on. I'm doing 20 max today. I always like taking shots on Paul George at this price, especially against shitty defenses like Atlanta. But for the most part, it's like one of those cross-off games for me as well. It's just, I mean, I like the Zubac call, but like center's gonna be like, I'm saving up center because I'm trying to get the Drew Eubanks game later, and then I also like Duren so much and Sengun. So I respect it, but I won't have it myself. But he could go for 50 and make me eat my words.
Center is absolutely loaded today.
It's so loaded.
You're gonna have to make decisions for sure at the center spot. All
right. On to the next game then. That was another quick one. So we've got the next game. We've got the Kings heading to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Kings are favored by 2. Glock, do you have more interest in this game? Who do you like in this game?
Yeah, so I think my interest in this game definitely lies more so within the Q tags that we have. Ant Edwards questionable, Rudy Gobert's questionable. Obviously, Rudy Gobert has been listed questionable for forever now. But one thing to note is that the Timberwolves are on a back end of a back-to-back. And so obviously if Rudy were to miss, it's kind of a situation that we're familiar with, right? You kind of just plug and play Naz Reid. Kyle Anderson gets a bump. And then, obviously if Anthony Edwards misses, a guy like D'Lo, he's been playing great. I don't know if you guys played him last night, but felt like he had 40 fantasy points in the first half, and then he only put up like 4 in the second half. Like all his production just completely got stunted. He was on pace for like an incredible game last night. And then, but yeah, obviously if Ant Edwards were to miss, D'Lo gets a huge bump. It's also good that he's in good form because D'Lo is not really a guy that I generally like to roster. So yeah, I mean, a lot of this really comes down to the Q tag news. It becomes really attractive if Ant and Gobert sit. And that's kind of why I'm debating, like, obviously you want to get into that Houston-Detroit game, right? But you want to preserve some flexibility for the news here and later on in the Portland game, which we'll cover. So yeah, I mean, I like this game for sure. But I think if everyone's in, then, you can kind of treat it similarly to like the Clippers-Hawks, Bulls Magic game, where like maybe you're playing like an Anthony Edwards one-off, a D'Lo one-off, or like a Sabonis or Fox one-off, obviously up from the Sacramento side. So yeah, that's kind of my interest in this game. I definitely want to wait on the news and kind of see how the Ant Edwards and the Rudy Gobert Q tags fall. They are on a back end of a back-to-back, and these guys are generally always listed questionable. So that's something to keep in mind. I wouldn't be surprised if they played. So that's kind of what I'm leaning right now, but I also want to have the flexibility to be able to, pivot to like a guy like Naz Reid, Kyle Anderson, D'Lo as well later.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense. Kurt, where do you stand on this game?
Yeah, kind of a wait and see approach. I mean, Gobert's minutes, man. Even when he's playing, like, have you ever seen a team regret a trade like so fast ever? And I hope they just set his ass so I can play my boy freaking Summer League hero Nathan Knight. That guy, man, he was awesome in Summer League for us. So I hope they set him so I can run some Nathan Knight. Hopefully people jam in Big Jelly, Nash Reed. And I'll just go with freaking my hero, Nathan Knight. But everything else is a wait and see approach. Keegan Murray, I seem to fall in that range all the time. And he's a college guy, so I always click on my boy Keegan. I had the 50-point game. So no issue there. It's a little one-off. But like Glock said, we'll kind of wait and see and post in the Discord if someone gets a bump or something like that.
Okay.
5K Keegan Murray, man. Holy moly.
Hey, look.
He's been playing better for sure, but man.
Hey, if I fall in that range, baby, I will just absolutely just click, especially if I'm doing 20. I'm not going to run that on a main team. I'll probably just do a little rebuild if I can't get something I'm comfortable with, especially on a slate like this with so much value. But if you're doing multiple and you fall on that, yeah, hell yeah, I'm clicking that boy Keegan.
Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind, like I just ran 150 lineups before we got on, and we mentioned center is like absolutely loaded. Guard is absolutely loaded as well. So where you're going to probably get a lot of similarities is the forward positions. Like I'm seeing a lot of Jabari Smith. Obviously, he's 5K. Direct pivot to that is Keegan Murray. Same price, same position. You're getting a lot of Cam Johnson at small forward, power forward. Jason Tatum is a spend up. Dorian Finney-Smith, Jeremy Grant. So, like, I know if you're hand building tonight, like, you're for sure going to plug in your guards. You're going to have your Spencer Dinwiddie's from Dallas, Chris Paul from Phoenix. You're going to have your centers, Alperen Sengun, Jalen Duren, Precious Achiuwa. And then you're going to fill in with your forward spot. So that's going to be the common build tonight, basically, the build structure. So that's just something to keep in mind. Obviously, I don't really like Keegan Murray that much, but Kurt's kind of enticing me in, obviously, at that price point, and then how roster construction is going to go. So just something to keep in mind.
All right. Well, we'll keep it moving on to, I believe, our fifth game. We've got the Washington Wizards at the New Orleans Pelicans. Pelicans are favored by 4.5. So, Glock, who are you targeting this game? What do you like? Break down the news for us here.
Yeah, so I think KP Porzingis is still doubtful. And Beal, I mean, I don't know. I watched him play against the Mavs, and the guy, like, walks up the court. Obviously, if he's in the action, then he goes hard. But he looks so disinterested out there. I don't know. It's quite puzzling for me to see. He's a max player, obviously, so it's kind of puzzling for me to see. How bad he looks. I mean, he may have a minutes limit because he's only playing like 29, 28, 30 minutes at the most, and like he's so cheap where like you want to take stabs at him at 7K, but you don't know if he's limited, and it just feels like he's disinterested. And so obviously that doesn't, that leaves you with 9K plus Kyle Kuzma, which I don't know if I can get behind. I think I prefer him more on FanDuel where he's cheaper there. Obviously he is the alpha of this team, going against a Pelicans team that, is okay on the defensive end. They're still integrating Brandon Ingram back. But yeah, I mean, I don't love this spot. I actually think my favorite plays from the Washington side are Daniel Gafford and Denny Avdija. Ever since they traded off Rui Hachimura, Avdija's minutes have been pretty secure, and he's like crashing the boards like crazy. And I think they're going to need Gafford's size against a guy like Joval, just another center that you could put in your pool in that cheaper center range. So yeah, I like Daniel Gafford and Avdija from Washington. And then from the Pelicans side, they're not really a team that I get into very often, especially when they're fully healthy. Obviously, they got back Brandon Ingram last game into the lineup, but they're not going to be like any of their players aren't going to be someone I'm prioritizing for sure. One interesting thing, Ingram did take 18 shots in 26 minutes of play last game. So maybe if we get some word that, his minutes limits are being, his minutes limits are taken off, I may somewhat be interested in Brandon Ingram in tournaments, but I doubt we'll get that, the restriction lifted. I'm sure he'll still be limited. So mainly interest on the Washington side here, more as one-off plays, a Denny Avdija, Daniel Gafford as a one-off, and then no interest on the Pelican side for me.
Okay. Very nice. Kurt, who are you interested in this game?
Yeah, so with the Pelicans like working Ingram back, I can't take the shot on a slate like this. So pass from me. Slight interest. I'm not going to play Bill, but man, someone's going to freaking click that button at 7-3 and get the 50.1 game. I'm just going to bomb it. I'm just going to just puke everywhere. It's going to happen. We know it's all going to happen, but like, do we want to risk it on the road there? No, I'm not. So shout out to that guy. You're probably out there somewhere. I'm just going to give a shout out to you. When you get that Bill 50 burger, you may have lost a lot of money in the getting there, but you got there. So good job.
Someone's
And
been
then-
chasing the Beal performance for a while now, for sure. Ever since he hit the 7K tag, they've just been jamming him.
Oh, that's painful. But yeah, I'm not gonna play much here, but I have to play my boy Maccabi legend, Denny Abdiji. I can't say his name, but I played him in EuroLeague.
Love your pronunciations. Love it.
Yeah, so I actually never play this guy, but 4 or 5 without Rui there. I will have a couple shares. I mean, it's like my 20th lineup, something like that, because there will be value that people just jam in. And if I get a Denny like 35 burger, something like that, I feel like I'm setting okay. So that's my only interest in this one.
Okay, that makes sense. We're kind of at the over halfway point, or kind of halftime
Really?
point. We've got 360 watching, a lot of good mojo in the chat talking about, it's shipping season. So I love it. Go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't already. Remember, you will get these guys plays of the day. We have 4 more games to get through, and hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers. So we would appreciate it. So on to our next game. We are looking at the Phoenix Suns at the San Antonio Spurs, and the Suns are favored by 5. I've seen some people talking in the chat already about the Spurs. Glock, who do you like?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I saw that. I saw that comment too. Spurs breaking the slate tonight from Amp. Let me pull it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about that. I would like to know what Spurs specifically that you're interested in.
Okay,
for
that's
sure.
what I was wondering.
But I think on the opposite side, like you can argue that the Suns guys are completely mispriced still for the roles that they'll have. You have Devin Booker out, Cam Payne, Landry Shamet, Jay Crowder all out. So that leaves you, with a 3-headed monster in CP3, DeAndre Ayton, and Cam Johnson. All 3 are great plays in my opinion. And the Spurs are a team that just play no defense whatsoever. So I feel like at least one of these guys goes off. Cam Johnson obviously has been shooting it well since his return. DeAndre Ayton went for like 3 of 20 from the field last game, but still put up like 20 and 20. If he would have converted on 50% of those field goals, man, he would have had an absolutely monstrous night against the Mavs, 50 and 20, like at the least. And obviously point washed God, CP3. Can't really knock what he's doing, right? He's going to have to lead this team out of the play-in standings while Devin Booker makes his return. So CP3, DeAndre Ayton, Cam Johnson, those guys are all really strong plays tonight, in my opinion. And then, I think on the Spurs side, you got a lot of questionable tags right now. Romeo Langford, Josh Richardson, Jeremy Sohan. Obviously, if those guys were to miss, it'd probably bring in some value, like Keita Bates-Diop might get the start again. Zach Collins has been smashing off the bench, but something I really don't like to do is gambling for that production off the bench. I don't think that's really a fun time ever, especially when Popovich is at, the head of the helm. So more interest on the Phoenix side and less on the Spurs side for sure for me, unless some Q-tag guys downgrade to out, which, I mentioned Langford, Richardson, and Sohan. So, yeah.
Sure. That makes sense. All right, Kurt, are you kind of in line with Glock? Who are you interested in?
I'm going to be straight honest with you guys. I'm a lot of my exposures are going to be fixated on only a couple games, and it's not really this one either. I'm not playing the Spurs roulette bullshit. I'm not doing 150 max, so Glock kind of has you covered on more of the ancillary plays.
Sure.
But Chris Paul for me here, and I'm not playing the other game. Like stuff might change with news, but just Chris Paul in my pool from here.
Okay. All right. Well, I think the next one sounds exciting to me. We have the Los Angeles Lakers at the Boston Celtics. I always like watching Celtics games. Celtics are favored by 9. Glock, who are you interested in this game?
Yeah, this one sounds fun. Obviously, you get 2 of the most historic franchises in the NBA going at it, Lakers, Celtics. But from a DFS standpoint, this is kind of like one of the more mess spots because the Lakers, they're priced up for life without Anthony Davis, right? And obviously, Anthony Davis is making his return to the lineup. You have LeBron priced over 11K, which was for life without AD.
Right.
And so, all of that usage, it's going to get funneled. Obviously, AD is coming off the bench, but it's just like a domino effect, right? AD comes back in. He's a huge usage monster. It's going to take away from LBJ, Russ Westbrook, all the guys on the Lakers. So really on the Lakers side, I don't have much interest. And then on the Boston side, it's going to be kind of like a similar situation as those other games where we didn't truly like it overall. But obviously you can always one-off Jason Tatum. Right. Jaylen Brown obviously is also in play. They don't have Marcus Smart, so you could even sprinkle in guys like Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White. And then Robert Williams is actually questionable. So if he were to miss, that obviously on paper boosts Al Horford. But if Al Horford comes with any chalk, he's a guy like I'm just completely okay fading. The dude literally just runs to the corner and shoots threes. I literally when I watch him play on national television, like I have no idea how he accumulates ancillary stats. Like maybe he'll get a rebound here and there. Obviously, if he shoots the three ball well, he'll perform well. And then I do remember one game. I think Kurt, you'll remember he went off. Was it against the Warriors? It was against the Warriors, right? I think it was on national television. And then in post game, he was like, "I really wanted this win."
Like when you get motivated at Horford, but we never know when it's like.
Against the Lakers, I don't think we'll get it.
It was Golden State.
Yeah, it was Golden State. Yeah, against the Lakers, -9 spread. I don't think we'll get a motivated Horford.
Everyone went off that game though.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Horford hasn't went off in a while. I don't think that was the first game in my head. I was like, wow, Horford is like absolutely destroying, and it makes sense, right?
Was Biggs versus Charlotte was the last time.
Yeah. So I don't have too much interest in this game. Just gonna be one-off scenarios. Like I said, the roster construction that I mentioned earlier. You're gonna have a decent amount of value, especially if you kind of do like, you're mixing in Mavs guys. You got Precious Achiuwa that's cheap. If you play like Jalen Duren at your other center spot, you're gonna have to spend up at forward. So a guy like Jason Tatum, he's going to pop. A guy like Paul George is going to pop. Jaylen Brown is forward eligible, so he's going to pop as well. So you're going to have to spend your salary somewhere, and if you follow the common roster construction, it'll be at the forward position. So that's kind of where I would get my exposure to guys like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. But I don't love this spot particularly. I mean, it should be fun to watch, especially if the Lakers can keep it close. But from a DFS perspective, the pricing doesn't get me too excited.
That makes sense. Kurt, Celtics are your team, right?
Yeah.
So who do you like on the Celtics? Who do you like in this game?
So my favorite one-off non-optimal play is going to be from this game. It's going to be Jaylen Brown. I can't point to stats, guys. I'm a Celtics fan. It just feels like this is the Jaylen Brown game.
All right.
9,200. I do like wings versus the Lakers. And obviously you can get Tatum or Brown, but I'll go 9,200 Brown. It's kind of falling on. I feel like a lot of people kind of fall on that right there with the forward spot, like Glock says. And I'm going to be overweight on Jaylen Brown as if he's projecting like godly. So I would use it as a one-off for you guys, but I'm going pretty heavy on the Jay Brown tonight. Can't wait to watch this one.
Yeah. Nobody on the Lakers side, I assume.
No, not with them like working Anthony Davis back, like bronze price, ridiculous, as if he's like the only person out there. Right. So no, not for me. And yeah, we're talking about DK right now, Sirogi, but Glock might throw in some FanDuel. I gave up FanDuel after all that bullshit happened. So yeah,
I'm definitely playing with more caution over there for sure. I don't know if they're going to cancel random contests and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm on the same boat as you for sure.
All right. Well, next game we got Glock's team. We've got the Dallas Mavericks playing at the Utah Jazz. Jazz are favored by 7.5. I know we've got some injuries on the Dallas side. So Glock, speak about on that, and then who you're interested in this game.
Yeah, so you're definitely going to have your Dallas exposure for sure. Like I mentioned before we hopped on, I ran 150 lineups with my projections, and you're seeing at least 3 Mavs in like every single lineup, which is, I mean, it makes sense, right? The Mavs obviously are without Luka Doncic and Christian Wood tonight, 2 of their main usage guys. We saw what Spencer Dinwiddie could do, once Luka went down against the Suns last game. He's definitely going to be a priority in my lineups tonight. I know that he's going to be chalky, but this Jazz team, like they bleed a lot of fantasy points as well. It's not like they are defensive stalwarts over there. So someone on the Mavs side is going to go off for sure. And I just want to be overweight on Spencer Dinwiddie. He obviously has triple-double upside, like he indicated against Phoenix, who I consider a much tougher defensive matchup. So yeah, I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie, stable with my lineups tonight. You're going to have secondary guys that have to step up. Dallas basically ran a 6-man rotation last game. Like you're not getting like under 30 minutes for any of these guys that I'm about to mention. Spencer Dinwiddie, Dwight Powell, Tim Hardaway, Josh Green, Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock. Those 6 guys, whoever's playing the best out of those, the 5 guys that are playing the best within that group, they're going to play heavy minutes tonight. Like Jason Kidd has just not seemed to want to play a guy like Jaden Hardy, who's a talented rookie that the Mavs have, but it seems like he's getting phased out of the rotation. And J Kidd, as the Mavs get healthier, with guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Green, like he's just going to roll with those guys just because he trusts them more. And obviously, they made that deep playoff run with them. So, I mean, I really think that you can't go wrong with any of the Mavs guys. One interesting thing that I think is totally in play tonight, Kelly Olynyk is back for Utah, but let's say Walker Kessler gets the start at center for Utah, right? If he doesn't make an immediate imprint on the game and establish his dominance, I could see this game going small super easily. And by going small, like, they could go they could just add Colin Sexton in there and play Laurie at the 5. And then as a result, Dorian Finney-Smith could play 5 minutes, right? Obviously, Dwight Powell can play the 5 for the Mavs, but in the minutes that he's not on the court, I could totally see Dorian Finney-Smith playing the 5. And I think, when looking at projections right now, it feels like he is kind of the one that is most underprojected, in my opinion. So I think I want to get overweight on Dorian Finney-Smith. I think him at the 5 obviously increases his upside for rebounds, blocks, 3-pointers as well, because the big man, if they're rolling with Kessler, he's not going to want to go out to the 3-point line. And the Mavs are super, super accustomed to, how the Jazz play defense, especially with a stiff big out on the court. So love this game a lot. Obviously, all the ownership is going to come from the Dallas side. But in turn, obviously, one thing we talk about at RPS is, correlating with the chalk, right? And a lot of these lineups, you're not going to see many Jazz players on the run back, like not even one. Like I'm looking at all these Jazz players and they're all projected sub 10%. So if you play a few Dallas pieces and you think the game's competitive, running it back with a guy like Lauri Markkanen, Jordan Clarkson on the opposite side, Malik Beasley, Mike Conley, one of those guards, if we think the games go small, will be a perfect play, I think, in my opinion, and get your lineup different. So obviously love all the Dallas guys. And then I think my favorite, if you have the salary, would definitely be Lauri Markkanen, followed by Jordan Clarkson, Mike Conley, and then Malik Beasley. So love this game a lot. I definitely think you're going to want exposure to it for sure.
And your favorite Dallas guy is Dinwiddie? Or who
yeah, for sure. But I think that's everyone's favorite.
Right.
Everyone's favorite Dallas guy for sure. If I were to rank it after that, man, Dwight Powell, he's popping a lot, but like I said, this game could easily go small. You could see a lineup of
I love one of these guys. You mentioned it, but you haven't mentioned him as far as one of your favorites yet.
Okay, well, I'll let you go. I mean, I love all the Dallas guys, and I'll definitely want exposure. We'll let Kurt break it down.
I was gonna say, sure. Kurt, you have us intrigued. Who's your guy?
So obviously, all these guys are in play, but I mean, Glock, you obviously watch more Mavs games. I've only watched a little bit. I think Josh Green might take a next step tonight, man. I mean, this is his spot. Like, you all have been like nurturing this guy. Like he's been on the titty, and now he's about to get off the tit. And it's like you go out in the world.
He's been off the tit, man. He's been playing good this year. He's been playing really good.
Like this is time to get a lot of usage against a shit team. I mean, I'm going literally almost all in on Josh Green. I just hope he doesn't fail me. But I think he could put up a very padded stat line too.
Yeah. So some backstory around that. If you guys remember the playoffs last year, Josh Green would probably, get a few spot minutes here and there, especially when Luka was out at the beginning of the Utah series. Utah would guard Josh Green with Rudy Gobert, and they would leave him wide open in the 3. And it was very, very painful to watch. Josh Green would be wide open. He wouldn't know what to do with the ball. And he definitely took that into this summer and use it as fuel to get better, because he took it as an insult. Obviously, if you have Rudy Gobert guarding you and he's sagging off, letting you shoot wide open threes. If you remember that series, I mean, the Mavs, they're based on wide open threes. Like they just play off the shots that Luka or Dinwiddie generates. And generally Luka brings 2, they swing, play 4-on-3. Whoever has the open 3 shoots it. And Josh Green was a complete liability last year. And he took that into the summer. He worked out with Kyle Lowry. I've listened to some of his pressers. He has looked like a completely different player this year, playing with a lot of confidence. So I love the Josh Green call. This is kind of #revenge built in it, because
it's the perfect storm.
He's had some demons in Utah, I will say. Like the Twitterverse around Josh Green last year in Utah, it was not good for sure. So I like the Josh Green call a lot for sure. And if you have like a 1v1 between him and Reggie Bullock, definitely lean Josh Green, just because I think Josh Green, he does a little bit of everything. He plays defense. He shoots threes. He can dish the ball, sneakily. He can rebound as well. So I like the call for sure.
And what do we think his Green's ownership is going to come in around? Any ideas?
I'm not seeing
I
here.
mean, he's going to be owned somewhat, it looks like. I mean, he's super
26,
cheap.
30, so sub 35, sub 30.
Forward
Okay.
eligible only, like that position where, that's maybe where you can flip the build, right? Where people are spending up at forward.
Mm-hmm.
You can go cheap there and spend up at a guard, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, I like that call for sure, Kurt.
I'm going
Okay.
all in on him.
I like it. You heard it here. Josh Green. And we're heading to our last game. So before we do that, please hit that like button, the subscribe button. We have 491 watching. We got a fun Saturday crew here. So let's get to our last game, which is the Toronto Raptors at the Portland Trailblazers. Trailblazers are favored by 5. Glock, who are you targeting in this game?
Yeah, so this one should be a banger for sure. And obviously, we have big Q tags here as well. Yusuf Nurkic is questionable for Portland. Josh Hart's questionable for Portland. And, I think this game's already good on the surface, and it would just get even better if at least one of these guys were to miss. Obviously, if Yusuf Nurkic misses, you can just plug and play a guy like Drew Eubanks. If Josh Hart is out, you probably get a new starter, maybe like Nasir Little. But even, depending on who it is, guys like Damian Lillard, Efreni Simons, Jeremy Grant, they're going to get bumps, just because of a guy like Josh Hart being out of the equation. Generally, he's like your, 3-tool guy where he can score, rebound, and assist. So all that usage would, fall to someone else. So having some flexibility here later is also a key. The only issue with it is it's an island game, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's the only game. 1 hour, before that is the Dallas-Utah game where we already have the news. So if you want to be able to be flexible for this game, you're going to need like 1 or 2 spots at the very least.
Right.
But it's definitely a spot I'm going to be focused on for sure. Obviously, the Raptors are coming off a back end last night after playing in Golden State. They fought hard, but they lost. And OG Anunoby got hurt in that game pretty bad, so he's going to be out for this one most likely. And the person who benefited the most from that last night was Precious Achiuwa. Last night, he was actually helped me get second in the $100 single entry. If I got like 4 more points out of him, I would have shipped it. So I'm a big Precious fan. Started last night, and it's going to continue into tonight for sure. I would expect he gets the start for Toronto, and he actually matches up pretty well with the Trailblazers, I think. So I think he makes for a great play. Obviously, Freddie VanVleet, you can also consider in GPPs. He's been playing great. Pascal Siakam would be my other guy that I consider in GPPs. And then I think another sneaky guy, obviously he's not sneaky maybe now, but in projections, at least in the absence of OG, is Scotty Barnes. He just kind of does a little bit of everything. And, watching last night's game, they're just going to run these guys heavy. Fred VanVleet, Precious, Pascal, Scotty, and then Chris Boucher. They're going to run a lot. Gary Trent, they're going to run a lot. So I love this game a lot. And I'm definitely going to try to have my exposure. My play of the day will probably come from this game, and ultimately I'll explain that later. But yeah, definitely love this game a lot, and I'm definitely going to have exposure.
Okay. Kurt, before we get to you, Medic58 said, I just stumbled upon this channel. Hello, everybody. Hello to you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Like and subscribe so that way you'll be able to see more of us. And use if you're not a Run Pure subscriber, we have codes for you. Glock 15, Kurt 15, Meg 15, 15% off your first month. That goes for our new people who are, watching the show and watch every Saturday, but haven't joined yet. Something to consider. You got a code.
Yeah. One thing, Meg, before you keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. If any of you guys use any of our 3 codes, I kind of said this on the last show that we were on together.
Doggy.
If any of you use our 3 codes and you DM me proof that you use one of our 3 codes, and you are a new member, of course, obviously there's a lot of things on Run Pure, a lot of tools that we have. We've got the playbook, we've got core plays, we've got a cash player pool, we've got the heat maps, we've got Mangone's 3 max, we've got the flowchart plays, which is kind of like a best defense versus positions. We got projections, obviously. There's a lot of things and questions that you'll have when you become a Run Pure member. So if you DM me when you join and you show me proof that you use one of our codes, Meg15, Glock 15, and Kurt 15, I will personally walk you through every tool that we have and just kind of try to understand your process and how you can use that process and apply it with the tools that we provide. And I got no DMs from the last show. You know, I'm willing to use some of my precious time for
That's
you
right.
to help you guys. And I got no DMs from the last show because no one, I don't know if no one used our codes or what, but I got no DMs. So if someone signs up that's a new member and, you know, is curious about all the tools that we have available to you, I'll walk you through it step by step. You know, I'm always at my computer anyways. I'm always willing to help members. So just DM me proof that you use one of our codes, and then we'll get you taken care of.
Glock, you're awesome. You're the man. We love it. Someone wants a code for your dog. Does your dog have a code?
Puppy.
It's Glock 15.
Glock 15. Go Glock 15. Exactly. All right. And start dropping questions in the chat. And after we get to Kurt, any questions, we'll answer those. And then, of course, get these guys' plays of the day. But Kurt, what do you think about this late night hammer game?
Yeah, so I'm really hoping that we get just the absolute havoc of all the Portland guys rolled out, because I will come off all of the chalk Toronto guys when everyone's asleep at the wheel. And hopefully, I mean, you have to imagine a couple more busts, like chalk Precious. Glock, how many times is a chalk Precious Achua just went on the whole entire slate?
I mean, a lot, but man, I watched last night's game, and
the
dude is like everywhere. He's so active. He's like first all team motor for sure. He would be on there. Him,
first all team foul too.
True.
That's how you get
I get your
fouled.
point. I get your point for sure.
So
for sure.
I think I'm going to play the roulette wheel of the Raptors forwards, but then if we get that news, I'm going to sub off half my shares and go Eubanks the center spot, and maybe even some Nasir Little too if it's one of the others rolled out, if Hard's rolled out. So I think I'm going to use it as just put in the Raptors, and then if we get news, I'll just go right to it and maybe come off some of the chalk and hope it busts. And then, sorry, I was reading the comments. And then Glock is so nice to you guys. I'm gonna do a little something. So use one of our 3 codes, and I will give you the secret link to my OnlyFans that I do not make public. The best I can do. My slong is I'm dead ass. My slong is somewhere out there on an OnlyFans.
Oh my!
And I have the secret link to it. Okay,
there it is.
Sign up for a year, and you will get that secret link.
There it is.
Everyone's like, "No, God, no! I'm never signing up."
You have made everybody's day. You have made everybody's day, Kurt. Thank you. I love it.
Dead ass serious though.
I'm dying.
Look at these two guys. Anyways, guys, before we get to their plays of the day, I mean, how do I follow that up? Be sure, drop in a couple questions. We'll try to get them answered. But if we don't, then we can get these plays of the day. I'm not seeing any specific questions. Let's see.
One thing, Meg.
Yes.
Alperen Sengun now listed questionable.
I was going to say, I saw someone said no Sengun. Okay.
For illness too. And generally, you know, these people, they're not really messing with illnesses nowadays. Usually I feel like in most scenarios where someone gets downgraded midday for an illness, they're generally out. So obviously that changes things. He should be, yeah.
Oh my God, you could do a EuroLeague lineup. You could do freaking Dini Advici, and you can do Garuba and just freaking go full EuroLeague, baby.
Give your EuroLeague core, Kurt. I like it.
Yeah, he's in the projection, so he should be available for sure. Obviously, you know, these guys, I just want to touch on it real quickly. Usman Garuba, center only. Bruno Fernando, center only. Just more centers that you're adding to your pool, basically, if Sengun misses. And, you know, that's going to open up more value for sure to spend up. So it's going to be interesting what the Rockets roll with tonight, because, man, it's going to be bare bones for them for sure tonight.
All right. Well, I don't see any other specific questions. So I think we have reached the plays of the day. So I'm going to go to you first, Glock. Give us your Glocked and loaded play of the day.
Yeah, so, you know, on the show, I was talking about flexibility later, obviously in that Portland-Toronto game. So I'm going to make my play of the day Damian Lillard. I see right now he is only projecting under 10% owned. And after seeing what Steph Curry did to them last night, I really think Lillard's being underprojected around the industry. The dude has been on an absolute tear. I'm looking at some sites, 50 projection, 51, 52, 49 even. I mean, the guy hasn't had like a 40 under 50, like he's had one performance under 50 fantasy points in the last like 10 games. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but the dude's literally on fire right now. I'm going to take Damian Lillard, Dame time versus Toronto. And just with that, you're going to have a lot of salary so that you're going to be able to pivot, you know, just in case the news hits. Obviously, he only gets better if Josh Hart misses, Nurkic misses. And yeah, Dame time, baby.
All right. Okay, for Kurt, I need to ask first, is it spray tan or do you go in the beds? You're on mute. You're on mute.
You're
We're
on
missing so
mute,
much
Kurt.
good stuff here.
The shambles.
Oh, I was on mute. Sorry. But no, it's actually all natural. I try to go like once, maybe twice a week after the gym.
Okay.
Relax the body,
Okay.
Sometimes
I only spray tan. I'm due for a spray tan. I just need to know if I could get any tips from you. You're the tanning master.
I'm old school. My family used to own a tanning bed, so I just
okay. Got it. Okay.
How rich? Hashtag how rich.
How rich? I know, right?
Okay, but then that leads
Tanning
us
bed
to
season.
the tanning bed play of the day for Kurt. Who is your tanning bed play of the day?
My tanning bed play of the day is obviously Joshua Green for the Dallas Mavericks. Looking like he's coming in sub 30%. Don't know how accurate the ownership projections I was looking at, so I don't like to give too chalky. But going Joshua Green, I think he spreads his little wings. I think he comes off that titty. I think he just freaking becomes an adult tonight, baby. He really this is a bar mitzvah. This is the time where he loses the V card. You can use all the expressions, okay, people. Josh Green is going ham tonight. Let me go. See.
There you go. And I realized then I see the graphic of you in the tanning bed with the little goggles. After I asked, is it tanning bed or a spray tan? All right, guys, before we get out of here, any final thoughts? Glock, any final thoughts for the people before we get out of here? Obviously, be sure to check the Discord. Be sure to check the core plays. That's going to be based on all the late news and, starting lineups. But what are your final thoughts for the slate, Glock?
Yeah, it should be a fun one. Funny story is obviously the night before I get a general idea of what, the slate's going to look like. I always have like a first look lineup as like a placeholder. And in the lineup, I faded Sengun. And in my head, I was like, man, I need some Houston exposure in this lineup. And that's why I kind of mentioned at the beginning of the show, like you're going to have to make a tough fade tonight for sure. And it just so happens Sengun is questionable now. So obviously if he misses, he's not really a guy you're going to have to worry about. You're going to have to consider, a guy like Bruno Fernando, Usman Garuba. So yeah, I definitely like where we're headed. The show I think was on point. So I think we're going to set up a lot of people for success tonight.
I like it. Someone asked for my play of the day during football season. I lean into these guys' expertise. After football season, maybe I can come up with some plays of the day for you. So to listen to these guys, look at their cores later. Kurt, any final thoughts for the people before we get out of here?
No, looks like a great slate. So just good luck, everybody. Thanks for putting up with me today. I didn't take my medicine, a little hyper. So appreciate y'all tuning in and kind of dealing with this. And thanks for Glock for keeping it professional. You got to have a great balance, a little yin and yang.
It was
perfect balance. Perfect balance, man. I love it.
Yeah. Well, Meg, you killed it as always.
Oh, well, thank you.
Good job, everybody.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, the chat's been awesome. We've 544 watching. The chat's been amazing. Good mojo. Hope we see a lot of Run Pure logos at the top of the leaderboard. So again, be sure to like on the way out, check the core plays and Discord later. And for Glock, for Kurt, I am Meg, and we will see you all next time.